The Grand Pearl Hotel stood tall in the middle of the shining city. It was a place of peace, style, and comfort. The lights of the city reflected on its glass walls, and every person who entered felt the rich calm of the place. Inside the hotel, the marble floor shined and soft music played in the background. Guests from many countries came here to rest, eat fine food, and enjoy privacy. That night was calm until a black luxury car stopped in front of the hotel entrance. The guard straightened up and opened the door. Out stepped Mr. Rayan, a well-known billionaire who owned one of the largest technology companies in the country. He was in his mid-40s, tall and calm, with a look of confidence that came from years of leading people. He was not one to smile often, but he spoke politely to those who greeted him. Mr. Rayan had come for a private meeting that was not listed on the hotel's guest board. Only the manager and 2 bodyguards knew about it. The manager himself came out to welcome him. "Good evening, Mr. Rayan. Everything is ready for you," he said with a respectful smile. Mr. Rayan nodded. "Good. I will not be disturbed tonight. I have an important matter to handle." The manager led him to the elevator, while the 2 bodyguards followed. The royal suite on the top floor had been cleaned and checked twice. Cameras, security alarms, and coded locks were all active. No one could enter without the access card. On another floor, a young maid named Lena was cleaning the rooms. She worked quietly, always keeping her head down. She was not close to anyone at the hotel. Some workers said she was shy. Others said she was just serious about her job. She had joined the hotel only a few months earlier, but her work was perfect. She never made mistakes, never spoke too much, and never came late. Lena looked simple, but there was something deep behind her calm face. She moved fast and light, like someone used to being alert. She noticed small details that others ignored. When she saw a guest leave his wallet behind, she returned it at once without hesitation. When she saw a wire loose on a cleaning machine, she fixed it quietly. She seemed to have skills that went beyond a normal maid's work. At 8:30 in the evening, while Lena was arranging towels in the laundry room, she saw something strange on the hotel's small security screen. The monitor showed 5 men entering through the main gate. They were wearing dark jackets and caps pulled low over their faces. They did not stop at the front desk or talk to anyone. They just walked straight toward the elevator. Lena felt uneasy. The hotel had many business guests, but their faces looked too cold, too focused. She watched as they pressed the elevator button to the top floor. She knew the top floor had only one suite, the royal suite, which was now being used by Mr. Rayan. A few seconds later, the security screen for that floor turned black. The connection was lost. Lena waited, thinking maybe it was a normal technical problem. But then a quick message came through her small walkie-talkie. It was from one of the bodyguards on the top floor. 5 unknown men approaching the suite, the guard whispered. His voice was low and tense. Then there was silence. No more sound followed. Lena's eyes widened. Something was wrong. She looked around the empty laundry room and then at the elevator. Her hands trembled a little, but her mind was clear. She had left her old life behind, but now it seemed it was calling her again. Years ago, Lena had been trained in defense and protection. She once worked for a private security agency that handled dangerous cases. She left that life after one of her missions went wrong. Since then, she had tried to live quietly, working as a maid, staying away from violence. But when she heard the guard's voice, her instincts woke up again. Without wasting time, she grabbed a cleaning cart and pushed it toward the service elevator. It was faster and usually not watched by guests. The elevator moved slowly upward, and during that time, Lena planned what to do. She had no weapons, no radio link, and no backup, but she still remembered her training. She knew how to observe, how to move silently, and how to use whatever was near her. The elevator stopped on the top floor. The moment the door opened, Lena saw that the lights in the hallway were flickering. One of the wall lamps had burst. The smell of burnt wire filled the air. She pushed the cart forward carefully. The sound of her shoes was soft on the carpet. When she turned the corner, she saw 2 bodyguards lying on the floor near the royal suite door. They were not moving, but they were breathing. Someone had used a quick knockout spray or gas. The guards' radios were broken. Lena's heart pounded, but she did not panic. She looked at the suite door. It was open slightly. From inside came low voices. She crouched and listened. One of the men inside said, "Give us the access code now and we will not hurt you." His voice was rough and firm. Mr. Rayan's calm voice replied, "You are wasting your time. I do not have what you are looking for." Another man shouted, "Do not lie. We know you have the device, the one your company built for the defense project." Lena now understood this was not a random attack. These men had come for something secret and valuable. She looked at her cleaning cart. There was a mop, a spray bottle, some rope, a mirror, and a small metal rod she used to open jammed doors. Nothing looked dangerous, but in her hands every small tool could be useful. She pulled the mirror off the cart and slowly slid it under the door gap. Through the reflection, she could see the 5 men standing around Mr. Rayan. One of them had a small gun. Mr. Rayan sat in a chair, tied with cable wire, his phone broken on the floor. Lena knew that police help would take too long. The power to the top floor had been partly cut. Even the alarm button was useless. She could wait and hide, or she could act now. Her mind made the choice before her body did. She remembered her training in close defense, where speed and surprise were stronger than force. She picked up a spray bottle filled with cleaning liquid and placed it in her pocket. Then she took the rope and tied it in a loop. Moving quietly, she stepped into the next room that joined the suite through a side door used by staff. It was dark, but she knew the layout of every suite in the hotel. She moved along the wall until she reached the thin wooden partition between the staff room and the suite's main hall. Through a small space in the wall, she could hear the men talking again. "Where is the vault code?" one man asked. Mr. Rayan said firmly, "Even if I had it, I would never hand it to criminals." Lena took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "Time to be who I once was." Her eyes became sharp and focused. The quiet maid was gone. What remained was the trained protector she had tried to forget. The clock on the wall ticked softly as she tightened the rope in her hand. The night at the Grand Pearl Hotel was no longer peaceful. Something dangerous had begun, and only one person on that floor was ready to face it. Lena stood behind the thin wall that divided the service room from the royal suite. Her heartbeat was strong, but her breathing stayed calm. She had faced worse situations before. She knew fear was only a distraction. Focus was her best weapon. Inside the suite, the 5 men were still standing around Mr. Rayan. They had tied him to a chair and were searching his bags and drawers. One of them, the tallest man with a black jacket, seemed to be the leader. He spoke with confidence, giving orders to the others. "Check the laptop," he said. "There must be something on it." Another man replied, "It's locked with a code. We need his password." The leader turned toward Mr. Rayan. "You can save time if you just tell us the password." Mr. Rayan looked at him calmly. "You have no idea what you are dealing with." The leader's eyes narrowed. He raised his hand and struck the table beside him, making a loud sound. "We are done wasting time." Lena knew she had only a few minutes before they decided to harm him or destroy the hotel's systems. She also understood that she could not face 5 trained men in open fight. She needed to use her surroundings. She looked around the service room. There was a vent on the wall that connected to the suite's bathroom. If she moved through it, she could enter the bathroom silently and surprise them from behind. She removed the cover and crawled inside carefully. The metal was cold, and the space was narrow, but she moved smoothly. When she reached the end of the vent, she looked through the opening and saw the bathroom's reflection on the mirror. The door to the main suite was half open. She could see 2 men standing near the hallway, one by the door and one by the window. Lena opened the vent slowly and stepped into the bathroom. She took the spray bottle from her pocket and checked it. It contained a mix of alcohol and cleaning liquid that could blur someone's eyes for a few seconds. Those seconds could be enough. She stepped out quietly and moved toward the man near the window. He was holding a small device and speaking softly into a communication mic. Lena waited until he turned slightly. Then she reached behind him and sprayed the liquid into his face. He cried out, dropping the device and covering his eyes. Before he could shout again, Lena grabbed his arm and twisted it, pulling him down. His head hit the edge of the table and he fell unconscious. The sound made one of the others turn around. "What was that?" he shouted. Lena ducked behind a couch. The man ran toward the fallen man. For a few seconds, confusion filled the room. The leader shouted orders to check the area. Lena used that moment to move to the side of the room. She picked up a metal rod from her cart that she had brought earlier and threw it toward the opposite wall. The sound distracted 2 men who ran in that direction. The leader grew angry. "Find who is here now." "We are not alone." Mr. Rayan watched silently. His eyes followed the shadows in the room and then met Lena's eyes for a brief moment. He understood that someone was trying to help. One of the men approached the bathroom door. Lena moved fast, stepped to the side and pulled the rope around his neck, not to hurt him but to stop him from shouting. She used her foot to push him off balance and he fell down. She pressed his wrist and made him faint using pressure points she remembered from training. There were now only 3 men still active. The leader and 2 others looked around, confused and tense. They knew someone skilled was inside the suite, but they could not see who it was. The leader pulled his gun and said to Mr. Ryan, "If you do not tell me who else is here, you will regret it." Mr. Ryan replied calmly, "Even if I knew, I would say nothing. You came into the wrong place." The leader was about to step closer when Lena rolled a small glass bottle from her cart across the floor. It hit the wall and broke, releasing a strong smell of cleaning liquid. The men turned toward the sound. Before they could react, Lena appeared from behind the couch and kicked the small table toward them. It hit their legs and knocked one of them down. She used that moment to grab the rope again and swing it around the second man's arm. With a quick pull, she tripped him and pushed him against the wall. The leader fired once into the ceiling to scare her. The loud sound echoed through the suite. Lena ducked behind the sofa, breathing fast but still steady. She knew she needed to stop him before he used the weapon again. She picked up a heavy vase from the side table and threw it at the light above his head. The glass shattered and sparks flew as the lights went out completely. The room became dark, lit only by the weak glow from the city outside. In the darkness, the leader's voice called out, "Show yourself." Lena moved silently. Her steps were light and her breathing was controlled. She came from the side and hit his hand with the metal rod she had kept. The gun fell and she kicked it away. The leader tried to grab her, but she moved behind him and used a quick motion to lock his arm. He tried to push back, but she used his own weight against him and threw him down. For a few seconds, everything was silent except the heavy sound of breathing. Mr. Ryan spoke first. "Who are you?" Lena did not answer. She picked up the gun, removed the bullets, and placed it on the table. Then she checked on the unconscious men to make sure they were still alive. She tied their hands using the rope she had. Finally, she turned toward Mr. Ryan and untied him. "You are safe now, sir, but we need to move quickly. More people might come." Mr. Ryan stood slowly, still surprised. "You are a maid, right?" Lena said quietly. "That is what people see. But tonight I am someone else." She helped him stand and checked the window. Down below, 2 dark vans were parked near the hotel. She guessed that there might be more men waiting outside. She handed him a small key she had taken from the leader's pocket. "This must open their car or maybe their locker. It can help the police later." Mr. Ryan nodded. "You seem to know what you're doing." Lena replied, "Let us leave this floor first. The elevators are not safe. We will take the service stairs." Together they moved toward the hallway. The air smelled of dust and electricity from the broken lights. Lena supported Mr. Ryan as they went down the stairs. She stayed alert for any sound. Halfway down, they heard footsteps coming up. More men were approaching. Lena looked at the fire door on the left. It led to the kitchen area on the 22nd floor. She guided Mr. Ryan through it. The kitchen was empty at that hour. She hid him behind a large storage rack and whispered, "Stay here. Do not move until I return." He asked, "Where are you going?" Lena replied, "To make sure they do not reach this floor." She stepped back toward the stair door and took a deep breath. Her simple uniform was torn slightly from the earlier struggle, and her face showed calm strength. She no longer looked like a quiet maid. She looked like someone who knew exactly how to fight and survive. The sound of boots on the stairs grew louder. The next wave of danger was coming, but Lena was ready. The night at the Grand Pearl Hotel was far from over, and the maid who once cleaned rooms was now the only person standing between a billionaire and a group of men who would stop at nothing. The kitchen floor of the Grand Pearl Hotel was silent and dark. Only a few red lights from the machines glowed in the corners. The smell of spices and metal filled the air. Lena stood near the fire door, listening closely. The sound of heavy boots echoed from the staircase. More men were coming up. She looked back at Mr. Ryan, who was hiding behind the large storage rack. His face was pale, but his eyes were steady. He trusted her now, even though he still did not know who she truly was. Lena lifted a finger, signaling him to stay quiet. Then she stepped closer to the door and waited. The footsteps stopped right outside. A man's voice said, "2 of our teams are not responding. Something happened on the top floor." another replied. We need to check the kitchen and the service stairs. The target might be trying to escape. Lena pressed her back against the wall and held a metal kitchen tray in her hand. She breathed slowly, waiting for the door to open. The moment it did, she swung the tray hard into the first man's face. He fell back, hitting the railing. The second man entered quickly, pointing a small flashlight. Lena kicked his hand and the light fell away. She used a broom handle from the corner to block his movement and pushed him against the counter. He lost balance and dropped to the floor. The third man saw the fight and shouted, "She's here!" He rushed forward with a long stick, but Lena ducked, rolled on the floor, and swept his leg. He landed hard. Before he could get up, she hit his wrist and made him drop the stick. She tied the hands of two men using a long towel and dragged them near the freezer. The third one tried to crawl away, but Lena picked up a rolling pan and placed it near his neck. "Stay still," she said firmly. For a moment there was silence again. Only the soft hum of the refrigerator filled the room. Lena checked the stair door to make sure no one else was entering. Mr. Rayan came out from behind the rack looking amazed. "How do you know all this?" he asked in a quiet voice. Lena looked at him for a second. "I learned it a long time ago, but now is not the time to talk about it." He nodded. "Then what should we do now?" "We need to reach the hotel's control room," she said. "It is on the 15th floor. From there we can call for help and lock down the other elevators." They moved quickly through the kitchen exit. The hallway outside was empty, but the alarm lights flickered. Lena knew the attackers had already cut part of the power. She guided Mr. Rayan toward the service stairs again. As they went down, she remembered the years she had tried to forget. She had once worked as a protection agent for an organization that guarded important people and documents. She had been part of a team that stopped a secret data theft. But during one mission, she had been injured and left the job. That was when she decided to live a quiet life. Tonight, her past had returned to her doorstep. They reached the 18th floor when Lena heard another voice below them. Someone was talking on a radio. "Check every floor. The target is not in the suite." Someone interfered. She stopped and looked at the door beside her. It was a guest hallway leading to luxury rooms. She opened it quietly and they both stepped inside. The floor was empty because most guests were in the lower levels. Lena pointed toward a cleaning closet. "We will rest here for a moment. I need to think." Inside the small room, Mr. Rayan leaned against the wall and said, "These men know something about my project. They mentioned a device earlier. It is true that my company has been working on advanced data chips, but nothing dangerous. I think someone wants to steal the research." Lena listened carefully. "Did you bring any part of that device with you?" He hesitated. "Only a small prototype. It looks like a normal flash drive. I kept it in my jacket pocket." "They must have found out." She nodded slowly. "Then they will not stop until they get it. We must reach the control room fast." They stepped back into the hallway. Lena stayed ahead, moving quietly while checking each corner. Her sharp eyes noticed a camera blinking weakly near the ceiling. She thought the attackers might be watching. She grabbed a cloth from her pocket and covered the camera lens. They went down 2 more floors using the stairs. The air was getting warm because of the broken ventilation. Lena was alert to every sound. Suddenly a noise came from below. Someone was running up the stairs. Lena whispered, "Quick, this way." She pushed open a side door that led to the laundry area. The room was full of washing machines and folded linens. She looked around and found a metal cart. She pushed it against the door to block it. Within seconds, someone hit the door hard from the other side. The cart shook, but it held. Another loud bang followed. Lena knew the door would not last long. She turned to Mr. Rayan. "There is another exit through the window side. It leads to the outer balcony." They moved to the window. The view showed the bright city lights below. The balcony had a metal ladder leading down to a lower floor. Lena went first, checking the path, then signaled Mr. Rayan to follow. The night wind was cold against their faces. As they climbed down, a gunshot broke the silence. A bullet hit the wall near them, throwing sparks. Someone had reached the laundry room and seen them. Lena held the ladder tightly and shouted, "Keep going down." She swung to the side and kicked the small ladder frame. It shook the structure, making dust fall from above. The shooter missed the next shot. Lena moved down quickly, protecting Mr. Rayan by staying above him. They reached the 16th floor and climbed back inside through another balcony door. The room they entered was a conference hall. Tables were scattered and lights flickered weakly. Lena closed the door and locked it with a metal bar. She looked at Mr. Ryan. "Are you all right?" He nodded, breathing hard. "Yes, but they are following us fast." Lena thought for a moment. "We are close to the control room. It is just one floor below. If we reach it, we can call security and seal all access points." They moved again. The hallway was silent except for the low hum of broken lights. As they neared the stairs, they saw two men standing guard. One was checking a tablet device and the other was holding a small radio. Lena whispered, "Wait here." She picked up a metal tray from a side table and threw it down the opposite end of the hallway. The sound echoed and the men turned their heads. She rushed forward, grabbed the first one by the arm and pulled him backward. He hit the wall and dropped his radio. The second man tried to strike her, but she used the tablet against him, pushing it into his chest. Both men fell. Mr. Ryan came forward and picked up the radio. "Can we use this to call the police?" Lena checked it. "No, it is on a closed channel, but it might help us listen to their plans." They finally reached the 15th floor. The control room was behind a locked door with a keycard system. Lena used the key she had taken earlier from the leader on the top floor. The door opened with a soft click. Inside, screens covered the walls. Most cameras were dark, but a few still showed parts of the lobby. Lena typed quickly, trying to restore connections. She managed to open the signal from the main entrance. The hotel guards were standing outside, confused but unharmed. She pressed the emergency line, but the system showed connection lost. She sighed and looked at Mr. Ryan. They blocked outside calls. "They came well prepared," he asked. "So what now?" Lena looked at the remaining working cameras. One of them showed the men moving through the hallways below. "We need to trap them. If we lock them in the basement, the guards can catch them once power returns." She started typing again, activating the door locks of several lower floors. The system beeped as it followed her commands. Slowly, parts of the building sealed off. Mr. Ryan watched her work and said, "You could lead a team of soldiers. Why did you choose to be a maid?" Lena smiled slightly. Sometimes peace feels more valuable than power. But tonight, peace must wait. The building shook slightly as something exploded in the distance. The attackers had used force to open another floor. Lena stood straight, her eyes focused. The fight was not over yet. The night at the Grand Pearl Hotel was now a war of shadows. And the quiet maid, who once only carried towels and cleaning tools, was now using her old strength to protect a billionaire and stop a dangerous plan that could shake more than just one city. The control room was quiet except for the low hum of machines. The blue light from the screen shone on Lena's face as she worked fast. Her hands moved quickly over the keyboard. She had managed to lock some of the hotel floors, but not all. The attackers were still moving inside the building. Mr. Ryan stood beside her, watching the screens with deep concern. He looked tired but alert. The stress of the night had not broken his calm. His eyes followed every number and every signal on the monitors. "They know what they are doing," Lena said softly. "These men were trained. They are not random thieves. Someone planned this attack carefully." Mr. Ryan nodded slowly. "I am starting to see that. Only a few people in my company knew about the prototype. Someone close to me must have given them this information." Lena turned to face him. "Do you have any idea who it could be?" He thought for a moment. "There is one man. His name is Farid. He worked for my company for many years and handled many high-level projects. But a few months ago, he was fired for selling small company data. I never reported it to the police because I did not want the news to spread. I thought he had learned his lesson." Lena's expression hardened. "Then this could be revenge. Maybe he joined a group that wanted your invention." Mr. Ryan sighed. "It seems I was too kind." Suddenly, one of the cameras flickered back on. It showed the main lobby. A tall man in a gray coat had just entered with two more guards. His face was clear under the light. Mr. Ryan froze when he saw him. "That is him," he whispered. "That is Farid." Lena looked closely at the screen. Farid was speaking into a small device, giving orders. His face showed no sign of fear. He looked confident, as if he already controlled the building. "He must have disabled the external security," Lena said. "That is why the police have not been alerted." Mr. Ryan clenched his fists. He was always good with systems. "He built many of our early programs." Lena looked at him. "Then he knows your habits too. He knows how you think. That makes him more dangerous." She stood up and checked her tools. Her uniform was torn in one place and her hands were slightly bruised, but she ignored the pain. "We need to stop him before he reaches this floor. If he takes control of the building system, he can unlock all doors and trap us." She opened the small drawer near the console and took out a flashlight and a security baton. It was standard equipment kept for emergencies. She handed the flashlight to Mr. Rayan. "Stay behind me. Do not move until I tell you." They stepped out of the control room and entered the dark hallway. The lights were still flickering weakly. The sound of wind outside mixed with the echo of footsteps below. Lena listened closely. The men were moving up again. She guessed they were heading for the 15th floor. She led Mr. Rayan to a narrow corridor that connected to the storage rooms. "Stay low," she said. "If we are seen, they will shoot first and ask later." They hid behind a row of old equipment boxes. Lena used a small mirror to check the corner ahead. 2 men were walking down the hall with flashlights, searching each door. Farid's voice came through their radios. "Find him. The maid is trained." "Do not underestimate her." Lena smiled faintly. "At least he respects me," she whispered quietly. The 2 men walked closer. When one turned his light toward the boxes, Lena grabbed a small metal lid from the floor and threw it toward the opposite wall. The sound made them look away. She moved fast and hit the first man on the leg with the baton. He fell to the floor. The second man turned, but she pushed him against the wall and pressed the edge of the baton against his shoulder. He fell unconscious. Mr. Rayan watched in silence. He had never seen such fast and clean moves. There was no fear in her eyes, only focus. They moved again, heading for the elevator area. The sound of another explosion came from below. Farid's men were forcing open the sealed floors. Smoke began to rise from the lower levels. Lena covered her mouth with a piece of cloth. "The fire alarm is off. They must have blocked it too. We need to restore power before the whole floor fills with smoke." They entered the generator room behind the hallway. The large machines were humming weakly. A few wires were cut. Lena bent down and began to connect them again using a small tool she carried in her pocket. Mr. Rayan helped by holding the light. He said quietly, "You seem to know everything. You could have been more than a maid." Lena smiled softly. "I used to be part of a special unit that protected people like you. But one mistake cost my partner his life. After that, I left that world." He looked at her with respect. "You saved my life tonight. You have nothing to prove." The lights above flickered again, stronger this time. The power was returning slowly. The cameras would soon come back online. Suddenly, a voice came from the door. "That was impressive, Lena." Both of them turned quickly. Farid stood there with a gun in his hand. 2 more men were behind him. His smile was cold and confident. "So this is the famous maid," Farid said, stepping forward. "You caused me a lot of trouble tonight." Lena moved slightly in front of Mr. Rayan. Her eyes stayed on Farid's weapon. "You will not win, Farid. The building systems are returning and the police will be here soon." Farid laughed. "Police? Do you really think they can enter? I disabled the signal tower near the hotel before I came. No one outside knows what is happening here." Mr. Rayan took a step forward. "Why are you doing this, Farid? You worked for me for years. I trusted you." Farid's face turned hard. "You took my ideas and gave me nothing. You made me look like a thief when all I wanted was respect. Now I will take what should have been mine." Lena's eyes stayed on him. "You are making a mistake. Revenge will destroy you." Farid pointed the gun at her. "Stay back. I only need him." But before he could shoot, Lena kicked the side panel of a machine, causing a burst of sparks and light. The sudden flash blinded the men for a second. She moved fast, hitting the nearest man in the arm and twisting his wrist. The gun fired into the ceiling. She grabbed his shoulder and pushed him into the second man. Both fell to the ground. Farid stepped back, aiming again. Lena picked up the metal baton and threw it at his hand. The gun fell to the floor. She ran forward and kicked it away. Farid punched her, but she blocked it and countered with a strike to his arm. He lost balance and fell against the wall. Mr. Rayan picked up the gun and aimed it at him. His hands were shaking slightly. "It is over, Farid." Farid laughed bitterly. "You think you have won? My men are still in the building. They will not stop until they find that device." Lena stepped closer and pressed a button on the console. The screens lit up, showing the lobby. The hotel guards, who had been locked out earlier, were now rushing inside with local police officers. "The power is back," Lena said. "You are finished." Farid looked shocked. He tried to run, but Lena grabbed his arm and twisted it behind his back. Mr. Rayan helped her tie his hands with a cable wire. The other two men on the floor tried to crawl away, but the police reached them soon after. The sound of sirens filled the hotel as more officers entered. Lena stood quietly, breathing deeply but calm. The long night was finally ending. Mr. Rayan looked at her with gratitude. "You saved my life more than once tonight." "I will never forget this," Lena smiled faintly. "It was my duty. But now that it is over, I think I will return to my quiet work," he said. "Someone like you should not stay hidden. The world needs people like you." Lena looked at the rising dawn through the window. Sometimes the world needs peace more than heroes. The police took Farid and his men away. The fire was put out and the hotel was safe again. But Lena knew the story was not yet fully over. Farid had spoken with too much confidence. There was still a piece missing, something bigger behind the plan. She looked at the control panel one more time. One small file on the computer flashed with a strange code, one that neither she nor Mr. Rayan had opened. It was a clue to the real reason behind the attack. Lena felt a chill run down her spine. The danger was not gone. It was only changing shape. The morning sun touched the glass walls of the hotel, spreading a soft golden light over the floors that had seen chaos just hours before. The police officers were busy taking statements, checking rooms, and gathering evidence. Guests who had hidden during the night slowly came out, whispering about the brave maid who saved the billionaire. Lena stood near the main lobby, watching the cleanup. Her uniform was still dirty from the fight, her hair slightly messy, but her eyes were calm. She had faced worse nights in her past, but this one felt different. It was not just about danger. It was about secrets that were still waiting to be uncovered. Mr. Rayan walked toward her, his arm wrapped in a bandage. He looked tired but grateful. When he reached her, he said softly, "The police will handle everything from now on. Farid and his men are in custody. They will not harm anyone again." Lena nodded. "That is good news. But I think this was not only about revenge. Farid said something strange before he was arrested. He said someone else gave the order." Mr. Rayan's face darkened. "Yes, I have been thinking about that. Farid was smart but not powerful enough to plan this alone. He must have had help." Before Lena could reply, a police officer came to them. "Sir, we found something in the security control room." There was a file on the computer with an unknown code. "None of our technicians can open it. It might be important." Mr. Rayan looked at Lena. "Let us see it." They followed the officer back to the control room. The place was quieter now. The screens were all on, showing different parts of the hotel. One monitor had a single flashing folder. Lena walked to it and opened the file carefully. The screen filled with strange symbols and letters. She studied it for a moment, then said, "This is an encrypted message. Whoever sent it did not want anyone to read it easily." Mr. Rayan watched as she typed a few commands. The letters changed into words. The message read, "Phase 1 complete. Transfer the prototype files before 0800 hours. Location, Blackshore." Lena frowned. "Blackshore? That is not a person. It sounds like a place." Mr. Rayan nodded slowly. "It is an abandoned research facility near the coast. My company used it years ago for testing new technology. It was closed after a fire destroyed part of it." The officer looked at both of them. "We can send a team to check it." Lena shook her head. "No, if this message is real, someone is already there right now waiting for the transfer. If we move too late, they will escape with everything." Mr. Rayan turned to her. "You want to go there yourself?" "Yes," she said calmly. "But I will need your help, and we must move quickly." Within an hour, they were on the road in a black security vehicle provided by the police. The coast was 2 hours away, and the sun was now high in the sky. The driver stayed silent as Lena and Mr. Rayan talked quietly in the back seat. Lena explained her plan. Farid's team was only the first layer. "The people at Blackshore are the real ones behind this. They wanted your invention because it can control data networks from long distance. In the wrong hands, it could be used for dangerous things." Mr. Rayan looked out the window thinking, "I created that system to help governments detect disasters faster. I never thought someone would try to use it for harm." Lena placed a hand on her small bag where she kept her old security tools. "That is why we must stop them before they succeed." When they reached Blackshore, the air was cold and salty. The place was silent except for the sound of waves crashing against the rocks. The old building stood like a ghost, its windows broken and walls covered with sea salt. Lena stepped out first, scanning the area. She noticed fresh tire marks on the ground. "They are here," she said quietly. They moved inside through a side door. Dust covered the floor, but the sound of voices came from deeper inside. Mr. Rayan followed closely behind her. They reached a large hall where old computers and metal tables were still standing. In the middle of the room, 2 men were packing boxes filled with equipment. Another man stood near a laptop talking on a phone. Lena recognized him immediately. It was a man named Malik, one of Mr. Rayan's former partners. He had left the company a year ago after a disagreement. Malik, Mr. Rayan whispered. I cannot believe it. Lena raised her hand slightly to signal him to stay quiet. She moved closer, hiding behind a large metal cabinet. From there, she could hear Malik clearly. Yes, everything is ready, Malik said into the phone. Farid did his part. The files will be transferred in 10 minutes. After that, we will destroy this place. Lena took a small device from her pocket and pressed a button. It sent a silent signal to the police tracking system in the car. Then she looked at Mr. Rayan. We need to delay them until help arrives. They stepped out from their cover. Malik turned, shocked. You, he said, his voice shaking slightly. How did you find this place? Lena stood firm. You made it easy. You left your code behind in the hotel system. Malik smiled coldly. You are smarter than I thought. But you are too late. The files are already transferring. He pointed to the laptop screen where a progress bar showed 70% complete. Lena moved slowly toward him. You will not get away with this. You betrayed your own company, Malik laughed. Companies have no loyalty. They only care about money. I just decided to take my share. One of his men pulled a small gun from his belt. Lena reacted quickly, kicking a metal chair toward him. It hit his leg and he fell. She moved fast and disarmed him before he could recover. The second man ran toward Mr. Rayan, but Mr. Rayan grabbed a metal rod from the floor and pushed him back. Malik tried to pull the hard drive from the laptop, but Lena jumped onto the table and kicked it out of his hand. The drive fell and broke on the floor. No, Malik shouted. Do you know what you have done? I stopped you, Lena said calmly. He rushed at her, but she moved aside and grabbed his arm, twisting it behind his back. He struggled but could not break free. Outside, sirens grew louder. The police were arriving fast. Lena held Malik until the officers entered and arrested him and his men. Mr. Rayan stood beside her, breathing heavily but smiling with relief. It is over now, he said. Lena nodded. Yes, the real plan is stopped. Later that evening, they returned to the city. The hotel was calm again, and the news channels were already talking about the incident. Reporters called Lena a hero, but she did not enjoy the attention. She only wanted peace. Mr. Rayan met her in the quiet lounge of the hotel before she left. He handed her a small envelope. This is not payment, he said. It is a thank you gift. And inside, there is something else. A letter to the government recommending you for a special position. They need people like you. Lena looked at the envelope but shook her head. I appreciate it, but I think I will keep my life simple. I have done my part, he smiled gently. Then at least promise me that if danger comes again, you will not hide, she smiled back. I will not. As she walked out of the hotel, the evening breeze touched her face. The world outside was peaceful again. The city lights glowed across the streets and the noise of life returned. Lena paused for a moment and looked up at the sky. She thought of all that had happened in the last 24 hours, the fear, the fight, the truth. She had once run from her past, but tonight she faced it again and won. She took a deep breath and walked away into the light of the street, disappearing among the people like an ordinary maid, though everyone who knew the truth understood that she was much more than that. The billionaire watched her leave from the window above, knowing that without her, his story would have ended forever, and somewhere deep inside, Lena knew that her quiet life might not stay quiet for long, because when the world needed saving again, she would be ready.